What's up YouTube, Dow here from Zephyr War Games, and today, as you have requested, I am bringing you an update to Red Eyes Black Dragon. Now, of course, with this deck it is a little bit different, but the one thing that I've tried to do more times than not in this particular build is I'm not using Dragoon. Now, if you have access to Dragoon and you don't have an issue playing Dragoon, I highly advise putting it in this particular build. Very easily slipped into the extra deck, and then all you change in the main deck is add in one Dark Magician. I will take you through this particular profile, show you everything we've got, possibly do a couple of test hands at the end, or at least specify some of the combos, and I've kind of taken this a bit of a different route. So with all of that out of the way, please smash that like button, hit that notification bell, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more upcoming content from the channel. With all of that out of the way, let's dive headfirst into Red Eyes Black Dragon. So, Joey's Ace Monster, and probably three of the top original anime decks that has got the least amount of support. Funnily enough, a card that was meant for Blue Eyes and Dark Magician actually serves this deck a lot better, and I'll show you that when we get into it. So, I'm going to take you through the main deck and show you exactly what we've got. We're starting off with triple Red Eyes Black Dragon. I am utilising the brand new artwork that we received thanks to Eldorado. Don't get me wrong, I would love to see this as a different style of rarity, but the maximum gold does work out very, very nicely. And particularly different compared to Blue Eyes and Dark Magician. You need to max out on this guy because you are going to be discarding it, you're going to be sending it from deck to the graveyard, you're going to be reviving it, and actually in this particular build you're going to utilise the fact that it is a normal monster a lot more times than not. Carrying on, we are playing two Red Eyes Alternative. So again, the biggest downside for the deck is that its best card in the form of Red Eyes Fusion is its weakest card. Like, it brings out all of these alternative cards like the Red Eyes Alternative Black Dragon that want to special summon itself. Now with Red Eyes Fusion, you're going to be playing it turn 0, which means, or turn 1 in theory, it means that you're not going to be able to summon anything else. So off of the back of that, what you've got to kind of look at is you're going to go one of two ways. You're either going to turbo out to go Red Eyes Fusion, Dragoon, go control, set up your back row, protect, and then win the game the next turn. Or you're going to do what I've tried to go with this particular build and use Red Eyes Fusion as a backup alternative. Something that I'm going to be using off of the back of Verte because it allows me to continue to make my plays. But what you also want to try and do in this particular build is make your Red Eyes Flare Metal, because off the back of the Red Eyes Flare Metal, you're going to continually trigger draw effects and protection effects, as well as putting your opponent under a lot of pressure that they're going to be burning out every single time they make an effect or activate an effect. Carrying on, we are playing triple Black Metal Dragon. This could be one of the best cards or the worst cards, depending on when you get it and how you utilize it. So you target a Red Eyes monster you control and equip this monster from your hand or field to that target. It gains 600 attack. And if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you get to add a Red Eyes card from your deck to your hand. Now it's very important because what this does mean is you could normal summon this card, link it off, and then trigger effect, and it gives you a Red Eyes card, which gives you instant access to a Red Eyes Fusion for your next turn. Shame it has to be the next turn, but it does give you Red Eyes Insight, Red Eyes Fang with Chain, and it also gives you the return of the Red Eyes as well. Off the back of that, it does give you Red Eyes Metal. It also gives you into your Red Eyes Alternative as well. So it is giving you access to alternative engines and alternative routes that you may need. Now the best utility of this is to equip it to a Red Eyes monster, link said Red Eyes monster off, and then you're going to get an additional effect off the back of that as well. Then carrying on, we do play a couple of one-offs. We play the one Black Stone of Legend, the one Red Eyes Black Flare Dragon, and the one Red Eyes Darkness Metal, alongside a single Meteor Dragon Red Eyes Impact and a single Malefic Red Eyes. Now I'll explain each of these as we go. The Red Eyes Black Flare Dragon, the one right in the middle, is basically just another Red Eyes, but off the back of that as well, you can revive it during your opponent's turn as it is treated as a normal, and then you get to use your normal summon of your next turn to bring it down as a Gemini monster. Now what that will allow it to do is it will allow it to gain the additional effect that during damage calculation, if it is performed involving this card at the end of the battle phase, you get to inflict damage to your opponent up to the card's original level. So that basically gives you additional burn damage and can do additional battle damage, or in theory additional damage to your opponent that you might need to win the game. The one Blackstone Legend again is pretty straightforward and simple on this one. You don't want it to take up, you don't want this to be a reliance of your normal summon, because if you normal summon this, tribute this to get a Red Eyes and your opponent stops it, you kind of go, I should just use Red Eyes Fusion. So there is a lot you need to consider with this particular card in this particular route, which is why a lot of decks are only playing 1s or 2s. Now the build I'm going to show you is going to be a bang on 40 card deck, but I'm going to show you 2 alternative cards I would really like to add into the deck, and it will depend on which route you go down, whether you're going to go with a Dragoon Control Red Eyes Fusion version, or if you're going to go with a rank 7 spam version as well. The Meteor is only in here so we can make the Meteor Dragon from the extra deck, which is another alternative if you're not using Goon, that you want to go that route to burn your opponent out. Plus it has an additional effect that when it is sent from the field, you gain additional effect to revive a Red Eyes. Malefic is just a free summon of a Red Eyes, which you can get to very consistently once you get into your Chaos Engine, which I used on my previous Red Eyes build. But the way this works is that you get to get a field spell very consistently, very easily, activate that. This is a Red Eyes card, so should you search it out, it is a free summon. You banish a Red Eyes from the deck, which is no issue whatsoever because Chaos Space can help start to recycle some of your cards. Plus you also play a spicy little tech of DDR in the deck as well. For the last 2 cards, we are playing double Ash Blossom alongside a single Phantom Knights of Silent Boots. Now, the reason I've put the Silent Boots in here is a massive little tech and a shout out to, and I'll specifically find him right now. But a specific shout out on this particular one for the idea that came to it. So this is for your boy Migs Games. So I saw his particular Red Eyes profile and he was playing this. And what I liked about this is if you're not playing Goon, if you do decide to play this, it in theory makes your Red Eyes Slash gets its own negate. Because you activate Red Eyes Fusion, you make your Red Eyes Slash, send in this and a Red Eyes, you banish this from the graveyard to set a Fog Blade. So it's a very small engine, which you can cut completely if you want to. And the reason I'm showing you these right here, the Ash Blossom and the Phantom Knight Boots, is because they are flex spots. They're cards that if you want to go the route that I really want to take this build, which is a rank 7 turbo option, you put in 3 to 4 dangers. So you put in Nessie, you put in Dogman, you put in Sukanoko, and then you put in Jackalope as well, because they all lead you to the same point of getting another level 7 monster onto the board. Then, of course, for the Chaos Engine, as we did before, we were playing the 1 Levianeer, the 1 White Wyvern, and the 1 Black Collapse. Now, again, the reason behind this is off of the back of your Chaos Space, which we'll show here. Not only is Chaos Space a searcher for your Red Eyes alternative, but it can search you out any of these cards, which is basically a combo on itself that gives you into a free Link 2, which is your Verte Anaconda, plus it gives you draw capabilities, and it gives you the ability of bringing out a Chaos Dragon Levianeer, which will ultimately be the one that you're going to be using to rip a card from the hand. It's very rare that you're going to be using it to destroy on the field, because it does need to use lights and darks, and the only other lights will possibly be coming from your extra deck, which is going to be very rare of occurrence that you're going to be using them. Chaos Space is what Chaos Space is. Moving on to the other cards, we are playing triple Allure of Darkness. All of your cards are dark minus 1 light and 2 Ash Blossoms, so your Allure of Darkness is absolutely fine. Triple Red Eyes Insight with 2 Red Eyes Fusion. Now, like I said, I don't want to be, ideally, because I'm not playing Goon. If I was playing Goon, completely different story. You're probably going to want to get to Red Eyes Fusion, make your Goon, but then I would make this more of a control build rather than a board presence build. Off of the back of this, Red Eyes Insight, 9 out of 10 you want to go to Red Eyes Fusion. If you've already summoned or you've already put a monster on the board, the other cards that you're going to go to, which I'll show you now, will be your Red Eyes Fang with Chain or the Return of the Red Eyes. So basically you've got a double battle damage equipped monster, or you've got a continual reborn for Red Eyes, which is really important should you put in the other cards that I'll show you at the end. Continue on with the spells, we are playing double Return of the Dragon Lords and a single DDR. In this particular build, because we are playing Chaos, we are banishing very consistently. So a DDR is actually not a bad tech. So again, a massive shout out to your boy Mings, because that one kind of was in his profile and I was like, yeah, that's not a bad idea, I like that. So I've gone with this over Monster Reborn. Arguably you could put Monster Reborn in here instead if you want to. It is entirely up to you. For the other one-offs, we've got the 1 for 1. So not only can this get you into your Blackstone of Legend, but it can also get you into, once I digged it, your Black Metal Dragon. So it's a free summon, get it to the board, you put your banish, you put Chaos Fodder in the graveyard, get it to the board, and then you're good to rock and roll from there. Then of course we've got the 1 boot set to launch. Yes, it is a bit of a brick, but it is a way of unlocking your Malefic Red Eyes, which gives you another free level 7 to the board. For the final trap cards, we are playing double Imperm and a single Fog Blade, which is just for the pure sense that you do need to be playing some form of hand trap in this particular deck. You do need to be able to turn off boards during your turn and try to disrupt during your opponent's turn. So these were the best kind of options for it. Now that is the exact 40 card deck. I'm going to show you a couple of alternative options, and I'm definitely considering bumping this deck up to 42, and I'll show you the reasons why. So the first off is the little danger package. Like I said, I couldn't find my Sukanoko, but the idea would be Sukanoko is just a free summon, so it helps get you into your Verte plays. Your Jackalope, your Dogman, and your Nessie. So obviously Nessie is a level 7, Dogman's a level 7, and then Jackalope gets you into either of these. So you can kind of see where I'm going with this. Now, obviously, if I went to this, I'd probably have to take out the Phantom Knight engine because I would be going more control and I'd be relying a lot less on the Red Eyes Fusion. A card that I am highly considering putting into the deck, and it's basically between Piercing the Darkness and Torrential Tribute as to what two I put into the deck. The Torrential actually serves a lot of purposes because there are cards like your Red Eyes Flare that can't be destroyed by a card effect while it has materials, and then off the back of that you do also have your Meteor Dragon that is, if it's sent, you get to bring back a Red Eye, so you don't actually lose board presence with this. The reason I'm actually tilting more towards Piercing the Darkness is for the pure fact that if you normal or special a non-token normal monster, except during the damage step you get to draw a card. You can do that during your turn and your opponent's turn by utilising Red Eyes Flare Metal, which is really, really important. Off the back of that as well, when an attack is declared that involves a level 5 or higher normal monster, or was ritual summoned using a normal monster, or fusion summoned, synchroed, or XYZ'd using a normal monster as material, you can make that monster you control gain attack equal to your opponent's monster's attack until the end of this turn. Now I guarantee you, I almost guarantee you 100% that your opponent is going to forget about that effect. I almost guarantee you that if you Red Eyes Fuse into either your Meteor Dragon or into your Red Eyes Flare, heck, even if you were to go into a Dragoon, let me just double check, when attack is declared involved by you make that monster, it doesn't even target, which basically means if you made Dragoon and then played this, your Dragoon could be buffed, and it means your Dragoon would never be able to be destroyed over or beaten over, because you'd always be gaining half, which is really, really cool, because in theory you will be making it with a normal monster. So the only issue with this card is it's not searchable in any of the archetypes, whether it be Dark Magician. If it said using a Dark Magician, Blue Eyes or Red Eyes, that would have been pretty lit, just saying. But yeah, I'm actually considering Piercing the Darkness for the pure fact that you actually fuse consistently with normal monsters and XYZ consistently with normal monsters. So your opponent will forget those. It means all of your monsters are going to be absolute beats. It does also mean that off the back of your Red Eyes Flare Metal, not only is it going to be burning your opponent, it can't be destroyed by card effect, it's going to be very difficult to beat over as well. It does give you a lot to play around with. So Piercing the Darkness is definitely a card that I'm highly considering. It's just trying to get the consistency of the card in play. Moving on to the extra deck, we're going to start off with two Red Eyes Flares. So this is the idea that you kind of want to be sticking around with your Red Eyes Flares. So again, can't be destroyed by card effect while it has XYZ materials. And while it has materials, each time your opponent activates a card or reflects, you inflict 500 damage to your opponent directly after it resolves. Once per turn during either player's turn, detach one material from this card, target a Red Eyes normal in your graveyard and special summon it. Very, very simple. You are going to be Foolish Burial Red Eyes out of your backside, okay? So not only does your Red Eyes Insight Foolish Burial, but you've also got your Red Eyes Fusion. Now, obviously, if you Red Eyes Fuse, you're not going to be making this, but keep that in mind that a turn later, if you Red Eyes Fuse, you're good to rock and roll, or if you Red Eyes Fuse and then make this the turn after, you're still good to rock and roll. Now, the idea is that when you make this, which is why we could consider playing the Dangers to make it more consistent, but you're going to be going with your Red Eyes alternative, plus your Red Eyes, your Return of the Red Eyes, you name it. The idea is that you make this guy, you activate Pierce in the Darkness. By bringing back a vanilla, you're already getting a draw off the back of that. During your opponent's turn, you detach material, bring back a Red Eyes, draw a card. During your turn, detach material, bring back a Red Eyes, draw a card. You're constantly going to be drawing, so you're going to get a draw during your opponent's turn, you're going to get a draw during your turn, and then off the back of that, you just make another Red Eyes Flare Metal, and you're going to go from there. Keeping in mind as well, let me just double check the Pierce in the Darkness. I believe it just says it has to be made. So, when attack is declared involving a monster and a monster you control that is a level 5 or higher normal monster, or was ritualed using a normal monster, or was fusion, synchroed, or XYZ summoned using a normal monster. So, even if my Red Eyes Flare no longer has material, it was still made using a normal monster, meaning that in theory, if I've correctly understood that card, even though my opponent will be like, right, well that card's not burning me, that card's not doing anything, this card is still going to be an absolute beast, and your opponent won't consider it. So literally, let's say if you had two materials on this one, no materials on this one, you attack with this one because it was made of vanilla, use Pierce in the Darkness to bump it, punch over anything your opponent has, and go from there. So really like the idea of Pierce in the Darkness in this particular build. And like I said, if you put Goon in here, you're just going to take the deck up another level. For the fusions, we are playing the one Red Eyes Slash and the one Meteor Black Comet. The Slash is obviously the defensive version because you're going to send the Phantom Knights of Boots banish the boots, set the fog blade. Now, you're not going to equip this with as many cards. You're only going to be really equipping it with the Red Eyes Fang with Chain, and then using the Fang with Chain to equip one of your opponent's monsters to it. The Black Comet is purely there for double burn abilities, plus the fact it's a 3500 beta, and if it is sent to the graveyard, you then get an additional effect to revive a Red Eyes. Going on to the lower level Link monsters, the two level ones that we are currently playing, or Link ones we are playing, is the one Striker Dragon and the one Umduct. Now, obviously, Umduct is what you turn your Red Eyes into in order to give you another Link monster. It could obviously be a Link Spider. The reason we've gone with Umduct is for the sometimes its effect actually does come up and does win you a game here and there. 9 times out of 10, you're going to be using the Striker Dragon as the first one, and then off of the back of that as well, you're going to search out your Boot Sector launch. And the thing with this is it can be any of your Red Eyes targets, plus it can also be your Chaos targets should you need to. For the Link 2s, we are going with the one IP Masquerena and, shocking, don't kill me yet, one Cross Sheep. Now, Cross Sheep, keep in mind, this is why I have put Cross Sheep in here. It is very, very important. Cross Sheep will trigger its effects when a monster is summoned to a zone it points to. It will trigger the effects of the cards it points to. So, what I mean by that is if I Red Eyes Fuse and bring out a Slash Dragon, Meteor Dragon, even a Dragoon, right? And then the next turn, I then get 2 monsters on the board to make Cross Sheep, and then have the ability to XYZ summon. As long as I make that XYZ under the other zone that Cross Sheep has, it will trigger both effects. It will trigger the effect to revive from the graveyard, and it will also trigger the effect to gain all of my opponent's monsters to lose 700 attack. Okay, so keep that in mind. When you actually check Cross Sheep, it triggers when a monster is summoned to its zones, but the effects that it resolves is up to the monsters it points to. So even though I didn't summon a fusion at that exact time, but I summoned an XYZ, as long as it points to a fusion, I will still get the revive from the grave. Carrying on, our last Link 2, of course, will be Verte Anaconda. Until this card gets yeeted out of the game, you still want to be playing it. Unfortunately, just going Red Eyes Fusion pass is not enough right now. You do actually, in the modern game, have a lot of consistency to get your 2 monsters on the board, to then make Verte Anaconda, to then use its effect to Red Eyes Fuse. Why would you be going the long right to Red Eyes Fuse? Well, because it does allow you to trigger some of your effects. It does allow you to go into your Red Eyes Black Metal. It does allow that to search you out a Red Eyes card. That can then give you your Red Eyes Return. It can give you a Red Eyes Metal. It could also give you your alternative. Straight off the back of that, if you were to go Red Eyes Black Metal into Striker Dragon, get you a Red Eyes alternative, as long as you have a Red Eyes to get rid of, or better yet, if you go into your Malefic Red Eyes, you can then activate the Boot Sector launch, activate the Malefic Red Eyes to banish a Red Eyes from the deck, summon itself down, wham bam, thank you man, you've got a 1-card combo that gives you into Verte Anaconda and a Red Eyes Fusion play without actually needing to worry about it. So it gives you 4 more cards to play around with if you haven't been able to get to your Red Eyes Fusion. For the Link 3s, we are playing the one Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos, and the one Nightmare Unicorn, because obviously Nightmare Unicorn will be your target off of the back of IP Masquerena, or off of the back of IP Masquerena, you can go into Appaloosa, Bow of the Goddess as your defensive option, and or Access Code as your offensive option. Now, the final 2 cards for the extra deck comes down to your personal locals environment and your personal playstyle. Now, I would advise playing one of these. Now, the reason I would play one of these is this is only going to be in here if your opponent is playing a deck like the Crooked Crook Control, where the only way you out it is a Kaiju or a card like Underworld of the Goddess. So if you don't need to worry about that, then you don't even need to play that card. The reason I would go with Avramax is because it does give you a power play defensive option that your opponent really struggles to deal with if you can't have enough to go into an access code for OTK, or you don't think that a 2-negate Appaloosa is going to be good enough, which is another reason why Umduct is very important. The last 2 cards that you can consider playing, and I will show you, this is probably my ideal mix. I would probably have these 2, but the idea would be either one Anima or a Link Kuriboh. Defensive or offensive really comes down to your personal playstyle and personal preference. So, that is it for the main deck, that is it for the extra deck. I've even shown you a couple of alternative options depending on what your particular playstyle is. Now, obviously I'm going to show you 2 very, very, very simple combos. Combo number 1 will of course be the exact one that I've just described to you, and that will be your Black Metal Dragon, 1-card combo, Verte Anaconda, any Red Eyes Fusion target. And then I'm also going to show you your Red Eyes, well, the other one's a Red Eyes Fusion, but in theory, the exact same combo I'm about to show you now with the Black Metal Dragon, you do with the Red Eyes Fusion anyway. Or the Red Eyes Fusion combo you do with the Black Metal. Whereas with the Black Metal, you do get a little bit more and you deck thin. So, let's go with just the simple Black Metal Dragon. Normal summon this. It's not ideal that you have to normal summon it, but should you have to, this is the route to go. Link this off and go into your Striker Dragon. Now, obviously, the back of the Striker Dragon will trigger its own effect to search you out your boot sector launch. There we go. Trigger Striker Dragon's effect, but also trigger your Black Metal Dragon. Annoyingly, you will need both of these effects to resolve in order to get the full combo, so keep that in mind. Now, it does let you add a Red Eyes card. Technically, this is a Red Eyes card, so unless I've got this wrong, you should be able to add this. You're going to activate your boot sector launch. You have a field spell in play. This card cannot be normal summoned or set. This card can only be special summoned by removing from play one Red Eyes Black Dragon from your deck. There can only be one face-up Malefic. Well, that's very easy. I play 3 Red Eyes. So yeet, that Red Eyes gets banished, comes down the Malefic Red Eyes, and then I'm just going to go, cool, link these two together, go into a Verte Anaconda. Verte Anaconda's effect, send the Red Eyes Fusion. Now, on this particular one, it's up to you whether you want to do the burn or whether you want to do the control. It is entirely up to you. So you send Red Eyes Fusion. Off the back of that, just for the sakes of showing this particular combo, I'm actually going to go for the control. So what you want to do is you want to send a Red Eyes, and I would honestly be sending your Red Eyes Black Flare alongside your Phantom Knights of Silent Boots, and you're going to go into your Slash Dragon. Where are you? There we go. Keeping in mind that if you went for the Meteor route, during the next turn, should you want to actually link off into something else, you could do. So then off the back of this, your Boots effect will go to banish itself to set you a Fog Blade. So you've deck thinned quite a lot. You've set up at least a single Fog Blade negate, right? Now, keeping in mind, you're still going to have 4 more cards to play around with. I will particularly show you playing through this particular hand, just so that I can show you the cross sheet play as well. So with this particular hand, if I had more extenders, I would continue to put them on the board. If I didn't, or I wanted to hold them back, I can do it as well. So let's say we survive this turn. We've still got the Fog Blade, or we've activated the Fog Blade. Anything like that doesn't really matter. Then what you want to do from this point on is you're going to draw for turn. The only difference between the Red Eyes Fusion combo and this particular combo is you get a Boot Sector on the board, you get a Verte Anaconda, and you conducted your normal. So we've drawn for turn. Now, obviously, this is just from random cards that are in my hand. It doesn't really matter. I've added Torrential Tributes in. It doesn't matter. But the idea off the back of this, considering that I've actually got a lot of plays here, is let's say I normal summon a Black Metal. I can then link this off and link that with Verte Anaconda, clear that off the board. The chance of Verte surviving is pretty low, but let's say we did. We go into Cross Sheep, trigger the effect of the Black Metal Dragon. That will then use its effect, and we're probably going to go, because we've got quite a stacked graveyard, we'll go with our Red Eyes Darkness Metal, just so that we can consistently give ourselves additional board presence. So that's probably what you ideally want to be going for. And then what you're trying to aim to get here is you're going to go Red Eyes Flare Metal, and we're going to banish. You don't want to banish the Red Eyes, very important not to do that. So banish your Black Metal Dragon. And then what you do is you get to banish a dragon monster you control, special blah blah blah. Special on one dragon monster from your hand or graveyard except itself. So probably would have done that a little bit differently, actually. Either way, what I'm trying to show you here is, let's say we went with alternative first because I've got that in hand. I get rid of the Red Eyes, summon the alternative down, gives me the play to make. And then basically what you're trying to do here is you're trying to get 2 level 7s on the board just to trigger an XYZ. So let's say, let's swap out one of the Torrentials for a Return of the Dragon Lords, just for an example. Activate the Return of the Dragon Lords, bring back the Red Eyes that we sent with our Red Eyes Fusion previously. Overlay these here, go into a Red Eyes Flare. Technically it's made with a vanilla monster, so you're in good stead. Now, this will trigger Cross Sheep's effect. All my opponent's monsters will lose 700 attack because I made an XYZ summon, plus because it points to a fusion, it will also revive a monster from the graveyard. Now, keeping in mind, it will only bring back a level 4 or lower, so you do need to keep in mind that the only thing it's going to be bringing back right now will be a Black Metal. But the idea behind this is straight away what you've then got the ability to do. So let's say that this was actually the Meteor Comet. Again, random example, don't even need to use this example. So if it's Meteor Comet, you're going to get an additional extension to the board. If it is just your Slash Dragon, again, you're still in a very good stead. Because what you can do here is you can link these into another link too, if you wanted to, like an IP Masquerena. just to put another attribute into the graveyard. Heck, you could even try and turn one of them into like an animal or something like that. But then you link these two together, and that gives you into your Game Killer of Access Code, or it gives you into your Defender of Avramax. It is entirely up to you. You've got two options there that are pretty much going to lead you to game. So, very good. Plus, you're going to be burning your opponent. You also have the effect of Red Eyes Flare to bring one back as well. So, you've got the plays to make, and I think that's what's kind of nice about this particular version is, I think when you're playing Dragoon, it is literally just go, okay, I'm going to do whatever I can to get to Dragoon, that's it. You don't really open up your mind to the alternative plays that you could be going for, and other options that you can play around with this particular deck. Anyway, I hope this has given you a bit of an insight into... Red Eyes Insight. Was not intended as a pun, but we'll go with it. I hope this has given you a Red Eyes insight into a different particular type of build for this particular video, or this particular deck. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it has given you a couple of ideas for your own build. If you do have any questions on the build, if you want to see more from this build, then please let me know in the comments down below. If you show your appreciation and get this video to at least 50 likes within the first 24 hours, it will show that you want to see more, and I'll be more than happy to bring you combo videos, test stand videos, or even duels with this particular build as well. As absolutely always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and happy dueling.